start with John Gruden and the facts. Last night, John Gruden met with Mark Davis, the owner of the Oakland Raiders, and he officially put his resignation in. Now, if we back up a little bit, the NFL uncovered about 650,000 emails in a sweeping Washington football team investigation that was looking into the toxic work culture of the Washington football team for about 11 months. Friday night, an email was leaked that showed John Gruden making some racist remarks towards DeMaurice Smith, who is the NFLPA executive, I believe, what's his title? Executive Vice President?
Yeah, he's the executive of the NFLPA. He's essentially like the version of Roger Goodell for the Players Union.
Exactly, right? So once that email got leaked and it was public knowledge, the groundswell started going for Gruden on Friday night. And then after that, the NFL sent a bunch of emails to the Raiders over the weekend to review that further indicated John Gruden had said some pretty outlandish stuff as well. So Monday night comes around and the New York Times obtains and publishes an article that showed John Gruden has had a pattern of making sexist, racist, and homophobic remarks over the past 7 years. And that's when everything was at a full crescendo last night. Mark Davis and John Gruden met, and John Gruden officially put his resignation in. And as of this morning, the Las Vegas Raiders don't have a head coach. They have an interim head coach. So with all that being said, Puma, what was your initial reaction to everything you've seen unfold over the last weekend with John Gruden?
So my reaction, I'll start off with Friday. You know, as messed up as it sounds, but it's kind of the way society is. I thought him and the Raiders and Mark Davis, they were going to weather the DeMaurice Smith emails and racist tropes and whatnot, just because, you know, you watch Sunday Night Football, you see, you know, Mike Tirico, and you saw Tony Dungy come to his defense, and, you know, a lot of people were saying, like, all right, it was 7 years ago, like, he was stupid, like, you know, we as a society, we want to preach, like, all right, you get these are, like, you know, kind of learning experiences. We want people to evolve. So, well, you know, I honestly thought he was going to survive it. Again, as messed up as it sounds, I thought that's what was going to happen. And then the New York Times article comes out and Twitter was ablaze. I mean, everybody was chiming in on this. And, you know, Karen Florio, you know, for those that don't know, Mike Florio of PFT, he was essentially saying the NFL was going to keep leaking these emails until the Raiders did something about it, because the NFL didn't want to get involved and suspend him. They wanted Mark Davis to take care of this himself. And I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't even watch the Monday Night Football game because I was just so wrapped up with this fiasco that was going on in Las Vegas. And we'll get to it tomorrow. It was a hell of a game. But, I mean, all eyes were on the Raiders and Gruden and then, you know, what was going on with the Washington football investigation. So there was a lot to unpack. And at the end, I was like, this is bound to happen. Like, he's either going to get fired, worst case, best case scenario, he gets suspended for the year by Mark Davis. But then you saw, like, the homophobic stuff come out. He has Carl Nassib on his roster, who's the first active and openly gay person on an NFL team right now. There was just no coming back from that.
Yeah, and you make a good point, because when this first happened, and we were talking about this offline in the group chat, when the first email came back, obviously that was a shock. That was very racist. We're not even going to go ahead and repeat those words that he said on Friday night to DeMaurice Smith. But, you know, I when this first came out, I thought he was going to weather the storm. You know, we've seen this many times before in the NFL. You know, something comes out, people are outraged. You know, eventually it dies down. As messed up as that sounds, you know, the person that is indicted in the situation usually comes in and has some sort of sorry or remarks of apology, and then they kind of move on. I thought that was going to happen. However, the bombshell that was leaked Monday night, the New York Times article, when that came out, and you have, you know, a history of 7 years of making some pretty messed up comments, that's when I knew it was basically going to be over, right? I mean, it was a very quick timeline when the New York Times article came out, and then about an hour and a half later, I believe Tom Pelissero was on it first, they came out with the news that he said that, you know, John Gruden has resigned. So I thought initially it wasn't going to be that big of an issue, but the second I saw that second article, I knew he was done for, because of where we are as a culture. Obviously, the NFL themselves has this moral they want to live up to. They're trying to be more inclusive, and you can't have one of your head coaches making sexist, racist, and homophobic remarks and still have a position of leadership in the NFL.
Right, and the thing is too is like those emails. I mean, Jay, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the last email that was leaked out was as recent as 2018. Mm-hmm. So I mean, this was I think that might have been about like the women referees coming into the league, something along those lines. But I mean, if you also look at like how the players were reacting, I mean, how they performed on Sunday against the Bears is one thing. Like, they clearly were playing as if John Gruden was not going to be there. I mean, they honestly should have rolled the Bears. They lost like 20-9. It was an ugly game, but really no player came out and like held John Gruden to the fire. Now, granted, this is like from Friday night up until Monday. There was no reports of like any infighting amongst the players, like a potential mutiny on board. I think Derek Carr came to his defense at one point. A lot of the players in that locker room, granted, like 70% of the NFL is black. And, so this, an NFL locker room, if they're not really going to, I hate to say this, like bat an eye about what John Gruden said about D. Smith, that kind of tells you a lot where we are in the NFL as a whole. But I mean, there was just no way when it came out with like the homophobic stuff and Carl Nassib in the locker room, like there's no coming back from that, which is messed up. Because if you look at, like, we can all joke about the Raiders, like we can make fun of Al Davis and we can make fun of Mark Davis, but in the history of the NFL, the Raiders were really one of the trailblazing franchises. Like, the NFL that you have today, like, that's because of the AFL merger that Al Davis orchestrated with the commissioner at the time. You look at, they were the first team to hire a woman NFL executive in Amy Trask. They had the first African American head coach in Art Shell. They had the first Latin American head coach in Tom Flores. Like, this team was essentially with Carl Nassib right now. They are a trailblazing franchise in that sense, and to have John Gruden in there with all these these allegations, and it's really not allegations because there's proof, it's in the emails. There's no way he could have weathered the storm. There's no way no player would want to play for him at that point.